Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling something really central to democracy in the Philippines: freedom of speech.
Yes, specifically how the Constitution protects it, but also, crucially, how the government can legally limit it.
Right. We're zooming in on two specific concepts: prior restraint and subsequent penalty. Basically, stopping speech before it happens versus punishing it after.
It's all about understanding the lines.
Oh.
Where does that freedom operate?
Exactly. So let's start with prior restraint. The Tagalog phrase, "Pidgelan muna bago sabihin," sums it up, well, stop first before saying.
It's censorship, essentially, preventing the speech or expression before it even gets out there.
And the Constitution is really wary of this, isn't it? It carries this heavy presumption of invalidity.
Extremely wary. It basically means the government has a massive burden to prove it's necessary, which is very, very rare.
So, like, a concrete example, maybe the government telling, I don't know, Facebook or Twitter to block a specific post before anyone can see it.
That's a perfect example, blocking it up front. Or, think about this. What if the government demanded to approve all blog posts critical of its policies before they could be published?
Whoa, yeah. That's direct control before the message is shared. Total gatekeeping.
Exactly. Or imagine a mayor denying a rally permit just because they don't like what the protesters plan to say.
Basing the denial on the content of the speech. Classic prior restraint.
Right. Or even, say, a school principal pulling articles from the student paper because they criticize the school administration.
Stopping those student voices before they're heard.
Yep. And another one. A government agency ordering a bookstore to take certain books off the shelves.
Again, restricting access before people can engage with the ideas.
And finally, maybe a court issuing an order, telling a news outlet not to report on some ongoing investigation or trial.
A gag order, basically, stopping the news before it's printed or broadcast.
All of these are forms of prior restraint. And the Supreme Court, like in that Chavez v. Gonzalez case, has been incredibly strict.
They set a really high bar, mentioning maybe only an exception for a clear and present danger to national security, right?
A very, very narrow exception.
Yeah.
It's seen as such a drastic measure because it prevents ideas from even entering public discussion.
Okay, so that's prior restraint, stopping it beforehand, very hard to justify. What about the other side? Subsequent penalty.
Right. Sambong mo, parusa ka pagkatapos. Report it, punish you afterwards.
So this happens after the speech has already occurred.
Exactly. The expression gets out there, but if it violates a specific valid law, then consequences can follow.
Like, probably the most common example people think of is libel, right? Being sued after you post something false that damages someone's reputation.
Precisely. The speech happened, then came the legal consequence because it allegedly broke the libel law.
What about laws against inciting violence?
Same principle. You say something, and if it's proven in court to have directly incited illegal violence, then you face penalties after the speech.
Does the clear and present danger test apply here too?
It can, especially for speech that might lead to immediate danger. The punishment comes after demonstrating that danger was real and imminent because of the speech.
Okay. What about things like social media platforms taking down posts? Is that subsequent penalty?
It functions similarly, yeah. It's usually based on violating platform rules after posting. Though it's platform rules, not government law usually. The mechanism is speech first, consequence after.
Makes sense. And things like perjury, lying under oath.
Definitely. You speak first in court, but if you lie, the penalty comes later.
Or copyright infringement, using someone else's work without permission.
Yep, you publish or use the work, then you might face legal action afterwards if it's unauthorized. The key is the expression wasn't stopped beforehand.
And the courts still look closely at these subsequent penalties too, don't they? They're not automatic.
Absolutely. They still have to be constitutional. Like that recent Supreme Court point from late 2024 criticizing public officials is generally protected unless there's actual malice involved. It shows careful scrutiny even after the speech.
So let's just nail down the comparison. Prior restraint versus subsequent penalty.
Okay. Timing is the obvious one. Before versus after the speech.
Impact. Prior restraint stops the message entirely, while subsequent penalty might, maybe, discourage certain speech because of potential consequences later.
Exactly. One silences, the other potentially chills or holds accountable, depending on your view.
And constitutionality. Prior restraint is almost always invalid, huge hurdle. Subsequent penalty is more likely allowed, but still needs to be fair and justified.
That's the core difference. Think of a referee.
What?
Prior restraint is like stopping someone from even taking the shot. Subsequent penalty is like calling a foul after the play happens if a rule was broken.
Got it. So both are ways the government can regulate expression.
But our system heavily, heavily favors letting the speech happen first.
It really emphasizes the importance of free expression in a democracy while acknowledging, well, that some lines exist for public order or protecting others.
It's that constant balancing act the courts have to navigate.
Okay, so wrapping up, the big takeaway is this fundamental split. Preventing speech beforehand is extremely difficult and constitutionally suspect.
Whereas dealing with potential harms or violations after speech happens is more permissible, though still carefully watched.
Which leaves us and you with something to think about. Knowing this distinction, how does it shape how we should approach, say, online debates or how we hold officials accountable here in the Philippines?
Yeah, what does this difference tell us about the kind of public square, the kind of democracy we actually want? It's a crucial question.